Well, we're going to get started. Welcome, everybody. I think I know everybody in the room, everybody on Zoom. My name is Molly Stockdale. I'm the Executive Director of Travelers Rest Connection. I want to start today's program by acknowledging that we are gathered today on the homeland of the Séliš Bay people at a place they named Timsumclee. Their example as the original stewards of this land guides our work today. Travelers Rest Connection is committed to respectfully sharing the history and contemporary culture of the indigenous people who lived and traveled through the ancient crossroads on this land. We learn from many indigenous artists, elders, and organizations. We invite you to learn from and support them as well. A quick thanks to everybody that makes these programs possible. The members of Travelers Rest Connection, sponsors like First Security Bank and Montana Public Radio, and MCAT, Missoula's community media resource, who provided a media assistance grant to record this session. We're grateful to the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival for their partnership in coordinating today's program. For folks on Zoom, your usual reminder, with the exception of our speakers up here, Cass and Sean, please, if you would keep your video off and yourselves muted during the presentation, that helps everybody. We will monitor the chat for questions and for any technical difficulties that you might have. Please let us know if sound or video is a problem, and we'll try to correct it on the fly. Okay. For the folks in the room, you can see that two of our presenters today are joining us via Zoom. They got stuck at Minneapolis Airport last night and are not going to make it into Missoula for their film premiere, which is very sad, but we're happy at least to have them here on Zoom this morning and be able to ask them some questions. I will first introduce Taylor, who is to my right here. Taylor Hawkins' filmmaking journey was inspired by his Filipino uncles, one a photographer, the other a filmmaker. Self-taught, his career led him to LA, where he worked with Diesel Films and earned a 2013 Sports Emmy for the NFL's NFL Up series. Pretty cool. As a video producer for the University of Washington, he honed his skills in short documentaries and marketing content. His film Through the Ground Glass earned a Vimeo staff pick, went viral, and was an official selection at the Seattle International Film Festival in 2014. As a freelance director and cinematographer, he's worked with major brands like Amazon, Nike, and Starbucks. Taylor's film The Racing Line was nominated for Best Short Documentary at the 2023 International Motor Films Awards. And over to my left on the screen, Director Sean Dunn and executive producer Cass Greener specialize in intimate and authentic unscripted content and films. Their production company, Very Ape, was founded in 2006. Sean's first film, The Archive, premiered at Sundance Film Festival. Since then, these partners have produced over a dozen documentaries, including Oxiana, which won a Tribeca Film Festival award, as well as American Juggalo and Florida Man, that are both internet classics with millions of views. Their commercial work includes, but is not limited to, Royal Caribbean, Bacardi, Delta, Ancestry.com, Google, Special Olympics, Truth Anti-Smoking, Nike, Chase Bank of America, and more. Okay. I thought we would start by showing a couple of clips and then follow up with some questions. We are going to be focusing on the films that these filmmakers have made that are entered into the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival. So first up, we have the trailer for Taylor's film, To Medicine, which was filmed here in Montana.
You don't take each race like you're going to go out there and win it. You got to treat each one like it's a championship. Just because you never know, it's unpredictable with relay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the sport of Indian relay has the teamwork of NASCAR, the wildness of rodeo, and the breakout speed of thoroughbred racing. They're going to come flying into the boxes, ladies and gentlemen. Watch out for the exchanges right here. The Warriors are running. Abrahamson, Carlson, River Road Relay. Here they come. Scotty Abrahamson's got him out front. There's Carlson. Ches Racine is pushing it. He's Ascadone.
You know what I tell my boys, it's when you earn something and it's worth more to you. Just like with relay. all these years. I mean, we've worked hard at it.
Shows what you really want out of it when you're out there each and every day in that wind and cold and pushing yourself. Ooh, nah.
Looked up to my uncle ever since I was small. Now I'm here with him. I get to ride against him. It's a dream come true.
The biggest things about natives is this family. It's how we used to be, you know, like how we used to travel around, used to hunt together, you know, pray together, just do everything together.
As a father, I'm really proud to pass a tradition on to my kids. It makes me feel that I'm doing something right for him to take up what our tradition is, and he's going to carry it on.
Our ancestors were pretty tough, strong people, you know. The ones that survived are the ones that we came out of. So we're really lucky that we're even here, because if they would have all died, we wouldn't have been sitting here. It means a lot when you're out there, because you're representing where you come from and who you are. I mean, you take a lot of pride in that when you step out on that racetrack.
Get with it and get in it. Shake it all night long.
Get your money and stay out the way.
What's sacred space? And what's holy? And what does it mean to be blessed?
It's all about love. We love everybody, and this can be a better world. It's about kindness, this magic.
Life is a song.
Right there, and we really do it big right there. Nigga play, we'll hit him with the sticks. We don't give a fuck about you and your mom. Fuck y'all, you ain't like that. It is what it is. We ain't laying down there. Take bro it out, he the best out there. Better know what it is. We ain't lying. We ain't lying.
I'm just cooling with the bros, cooling with the boys. Y'all be really with the smoke up. I ain't really with that all capping shit. I be cooling in the back. Y'all really with that rapping shit. Y'all my dude LP, about to hop back on this.
These are my people.
You're not the self, and yet you have a myriad of selves. But enjoy the ride.
Death is not an end. I don't struggle with mortality anymore at all. I struggle with eternity. I was dead, man. Like, I wasn't rushed to a hospital and declared dead, but I was, how I tell the story is I was spectacularly whiskey drunk in Missoula, Montana. There had been an ice storm previous. I was wearing my lucky boots that had slick soles, and like the last thing I remember from being an upright human was my boots and neon in the same frame, which meant my head was rapidly moving towards the sidewalk. And I found out a year after that incident that I broke my neck. Chiropractor showed me the x-rays, and it was a good break. But that last frame, and then I remember just warp speed, hyperdrive, going through the stars or somewhere, and had the classic near-death experience as far as life review, meeting ancestors, and angels, being in the presence of God. The only way I can describe it is that I took up my position in the stars. And I spent a couple of months considering whether I wanted to come back and be a human again. And ultimately, apparently decided to, because here I am. And it was that moment I experienced that hyperdrive in reverse and woke up laughing hysterically on the sidewalk with people looking at me, "Are you okay?" All that kind of thing. So, yeah, my neck hurt for the next few months. Real bad. But I was off on another adventure and had a season in Alaska to go work, so I just did that. And yeah, then shit started getting weird. You know, souls are transient. All reality exists simultaneously. So the guy, your neighbor in the apartment building who does nothing but watch bad movies and eat Doritos and drink Mountain Dew, whatever, could very well be very busy doing very good work in another reality. And this is their relaxation reality, where they get to come and eat Doritos and drink Mountain Dew and watch bad movies. I don't know. Reality is not stranger than you think, it's stranger than you can think. And that's the only thing that makes sense to me anymore.
For the younger kids, if they didn't have relay, they don't have anything else, and you see them get caught up in drinking and the badder things, the drugs. Nowadays a lot of people on the meth. It just tears a person down. It totally changes a person. And it's nothing but bad that comes out of it. So relay is really a positive thing, and it's that connection with the horse, the spirituality of it. It's therapy for all of us. When I was 19, I guess, I was drinking a lot, hanging out with friends, and kind of got lost, I guess. Probably out till 2, 3 in the morning, probably even 4. I don't really remember exactly, the time, but when you're out late like that, nothing good happens or follows you around, you get sort of tracking the negative, but I got home and went to bed, and next thing, I had that aura, that white light in my dream. I hadn't really woken up and opened my eyes. It was, I was still sleeping, and the light was so bright that I couldn't see him. I could see his outline, or, you know, but I felt his energy strong, you know. Basically, he didn't even have to say why he was there, you know. I just felt and I knew, you know, he was guiding me towards the light, you know, into a better path. And before I even got to say any words, you know, I opened my eyes and woke up. Later on, you know, on that day, my brother Tony came and picked me up. You know, we started doing the Indian relay, and from there I never looked back. I asked my mom about it later on, and, you know, she had told me that the name had connection to my family. It was one of my ancestors that had came to me, and, you know, without even saying words, he, you know, changed my life.
Ooh, da, baby. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby girl. Ooh, baby girl. Ooh, baby girl. Ooh, baby girl. Yeehaw, yeehaw. Yeah, okay. Not gonna hurt you. Out here with the horse, you can trust them more than you can trust people. I mean, it's all a trust thing, you know, a bond. Just like relay, you know, you're coming up and jumping on him, you know. I don't want him to kick me, you know, because you're running up to him. He could just turn and kick you. So you got to get that trust of him relaxing and waiting for you. Ooh. There it is, lick your lips. It's a big thing, you know, having a bond with that horse, because they'll do anything for you if you ask them right, you know.
So this is how we create a healing forest. So this is the mother tree food. If you kind of mix it in. When we take care of the forest takes care of us in return. It was a juniper over by town, and we had scattered, and you're all welcome to put this out in a star pattern if you like. And then I went, after we were done with that, and we hit the bell. And I was standing kind of like next to the tree, and people were like, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? I said, what is this energy that's pulsing at us? I said, I don't know. And so, yeah, it's almost like it's a real thing. And someone who had been in pain apparently all weekend, this was the Sunday, she had been in pain, she goes, wait a minute, all my pain's gone. And somebody else, his carpal tunnel went 90% gone. One lady didn't have to use her glasses anymore. But don't tell anybody this. I believe it's taking my own field, our fields, and then the tree goes, oh, I can help you. and it's building our fields through a partnership. And so from Paul Stamets, the low tones of didgeridoos and drums and the 66 hertz, he says that supports the mycelial growth. So we're up for that because we're all musicians. Yeah, you can kind of feel that now, can't you? I mean, sometimes I don't know where it's coming from, but it's wonderful to share it with people I've only met yesterday and today. Thank you for being into craziness.
So Taylor and I are going to share the microphone up here, and I'm going to try to switch so that we can get Cass and Greener on as well. I'm just going to switch my view. But I'm going to start with Taylor. So your film is about Indian Relay, and how in the world did you learn about it? How did you come to this story?
Hi, everyone. So one of my first jobs after film school was working at a horse racetrack in Washington. I was a camera operator in Washington. That was my first job was at a horse racetrack, Emerald Downs in Auburn, Washington. That track was purchased by the Muckleshoot tribe in like 2014. They asked me to come back and film some of the Indian relay races in 2017, and that's where I first met Chaz Racine and the Carlson family. And I asked them if I could make a documentary film about them outside of just what was going on that weekend. And what was supposed to be like a short 5-minute video about their team, it ended up becoming this multi-year long journey where I was capturing their lives and passion for racing and life on the reservation.
Okay, so we're going to try to hear from Cass and Sean now from Fairy Ape about where did the idea for Wild Magic come from, and how did this film come about for you?
Yeah, our apologies. We do hope that you guys can see it. It's actually playing tomorrow.
Yeah, please go see our movie. This is no way to my heart is racing. I that like was really embarrassing to see our thing all choppy and fucked up like that. So please go see it tomorrow if you can, and if you can't, reach out to us.
Yeah, but basically, we do want to. We're very excited because, and thank you so much to Travelers Rest for inviting us. We actually think this is a really perfect film for you guys to see. As we traveled the country, stopping at rest stops, the idea for the film came from.
It was divine intervention. We just had the term come into our head one day, the wild magic, and we live a pretty psychedelic life. We're psychedelic filmmakers, and we like getting out there and talking to people and making our audience feel as if they are them, helping just kind of hold a mirror up to the audience. And yeah, this term came into our heads, and a lot of the work we'd previously done was about like communities or fringe people, and this felt more like something going towards a vibration or a frequency that we know about, but we were curious to see if we could make a whole film about it. And luckily some investors came along and let us go do our thing.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So I think instead of trying to show clips on Zoom as well, we are going to focus on just chatting right now, and then we'll show the clips here in the room. But I do want to let folks know that there are some opportunities to see these films in their entirety, and also there is an online option. So we'll share with you how to get in touch with the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival so that you can watch these from home if that is your preference. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like Two Medicine seems to tell a universal story by focusing on a specific life experience with Indian Relay, and Wild Magic is more about individual life experiences that can be really different and yet connected somehow. So maybe I'll start with Sean and Cass, and I just ask you, how do you hope the audience will connect to the people whose lives you document?
Well, I think what we focus on is stripping away, I think, cinematic crutches and really putting them headfirst into a raw experience that doesn't really involve us giving too much context or saying who these people are or where they are. And I think by stripping all that stuff away, that's not how the way we approach all of our films, but I think with this one, it was going to allow the audience to connect with it more and see themselves in these subjects more and not get caught up on, oh, that person was in Chicago, or I recognize this from there, or whatever. Just here it is, a raw experience. Come for a ride with us, and you'll figure it out along the way we did. So we really wanted it to be an experiential type of experience.
Awesome, thanks. And how about you, Taylor? How do you hope that they connect to these folks who have a very specific experience of life?
Yeah, I think as someone that grew up in Washington State around tribes and indigenous people, I think I had an idea on the surface of maybe who they were. You hear a lot of stereotypes, and I think for me, I was really surprised actually spending time with the family, how different they were from a lot of those stereotypes, and how much they had to share and offer, and I hope that people that watch this film get to experience life with the Native American family on the reservation, things that challenge them, things that they're proud of, and just get to see into a world that I think a lot of people don't get to. And I think similar to other filmmakers, it's very observational, and I actually kind of just lived the experience and captured it. And so in a sense, you get to kind of be taken on a journey with this camera into this world, and I think it will take you some places you wouldn't expect.
Cool. One of the clips that I had hoped to share, this is going to be harder. There's a great scene in Wild Magic that Kesachan shared with me that is an interview with a gentleman named Ben. And I'm not sure if the interview took place here in Missoula, but the story that he tells takes place here in Missoula. And it's really about basically a near-death experience. And it felt like a very spiritual moment. And I wonder, since I haven't seen the whole film, is spirituality a theme that is woven through the entire film, or is this just one very special moment about Missoula?
It's definitely a theme. I think most people would see it as that, but I think probably bigger than that, the theme is transformation and transformative moments in people's lives is what we ended up talking to them about. And I think that's what we started to consider magic to be. And the way we made this movie is we literally just went on an aimless road trip, and we said, we'll find the others, we'll feel them. And if not, we'll sit in a 7-Eleven parking lot all day until somebody says, what are you doing? And we'll talk to them. And we talked to hundreds of people. And the way the film was put together is, we would talk to somebody and they say, oh man, you should really talk to my homie in Durango, Colorado. And that's where we met Ben. We were just on a road trip, and we would tell people where we were going next. And they would say, you should talk to my friend. So at least we would have a landing point when we'd get to wherever we were going. And we literally came across Ben. He was just sitting at the bottom, at the side of a riverbank, smoking cigarettes. And we really didn't go into a lot of these interviews with questions. This is me being 20 years into my career and like becoming less interested in certain stuff like that. I'm interested in how a person reacts when we just kind of let them vibe. And we made a film about listening. And when you listen to people, sometimes they'll hit you with some of the craziest stories you've ever heard. And in Ben's case, he told us about a near-death experience where in Missoula, Montana, he slipped on ice and hit his head, and basically took his place among the stars and the angels, and lived what felt like years in the heavens, and eventually had to answer to a maker who made him become human again, and he just woke up laughing. on the sidewalks of Missoula, Montana, while he said he was spectacularly whiskey drunk. So the film is a lot of moments like that. It's, you know, it's a lot of just like disparate moments with people. And what we were trying to do is show that despite the way it feels, that there's a lot of hidden pockets of light in this country. And that if you learn to listen and if you adjust your lens, there's a lot of cool people and there's a lot of wisdom to be gleaned from still traveling this country. It's not all just Walmarts and, you know, highways and strip malls. That there's a lot of cool people, and maybe they're in those strip malls, but they're out there and they're inspiring.
That's great. Oh, Cass, did you want to add something?
Oh no, no. I think he nailed it.
Awesome. So again, we will show these clips at the end of the program for the folks in the room because you can see them well here, and they're really special moments, and I want you to enjoy them. So we'll hear from Ben later. And we'll also hear from Lynn about his dream. This is a very spiritual moment from Taylor's film about one of the Indian relay riders. And I wonder if you can share a little bit about Lynn's dream and also maybe about, you know, how these young riders are open to sort of the spiritual connection with their ancestors and how their indigenous culture impacts how they feel about their sport.
Well said. Thank you for setting me up that way. So, yeah, the scene that you guys will see later is one of the individuals in the film, about when he was 18 or 19 years old, had what he describes as a dream, but it was also what he describes as actually was a physical experience where a spiritual being visits him in his room late at night, and he was in a particular dark place in life, really struggling, I think, with substance abuse and things, and was kind of seeking direction. And I'll let the scene play out, but it's a really mysterious depiction of that that experience and the outcome and the place, you know, the message that he got from this person. And I think spending time on the reservation, the Blackfeet Reservation in Montana, these experiences are very common, talking to people there. And I started experiencing some of those things myself, being on that reservation and land. I didn't have someone appear in a room, but in terms of strange dreams that are kind of communicating things to you. And so the film definitely explores spirituality, and the main character really goes on a journey to seek the creator and have a closer connection and relationship with him. And that's something that his, you know, elders and ancestors encouraged him to go on. And so I think sometimes in society we don't consider the spiritual realm, and I think it's something that this particular group of people just don't deny. They very much embrace and live in it and experience it, and it was a privilege to kind of explore that space with them.
So I have to ask, as a follow-up, did you, in light of some of these experiences that you had, these spiritual experiences, did you change any of the way that you were approaching the subject matter based on, I don't know, a thought that came to you in a dream?
It's a great question. I think that I can't remember what the dream I had was, honestly. There were a few instances where they would describe their experiences and I would start to have them out there. I think the opening of the film, which you guys will only see if you go watch it, is a depiction of a dream that Chaz had when he was a boy about 4 elders standing on a ridge line. And 4 is a sacred number in their culture. And it was something he saw as a child, and so it was kind of an apparition or a vision. And I also start the film with a prayer from the late Earl Oldperson, who was the last Blackfeet chief, and he prays both in Blackfeet and in English. And I just felt that kind of set the tone for the movie, because they live in a world where they're an ancient people now living in modern-day America, and they're trying to kind of connect with their spiritual ancestors to guide them into a better life today. And so I knew the film kind of needed to have that sensibility from the get-go, and it's woven throughout, and it doesn't explicitly say like. I think it's just kind of open to experiencing what it is through their lens.
Okay, so Cass and Sean, we're gonna shift up here a little bit because you mentioned a little bit at the beginning, Cass, how like um, connected it is, sort of this idea of a journey. We here at Travelers Rest are often about Lewis and Clark or about the indigenous people that traveled through this particular place and shared stories here. And I guess I'm curious how the actual act of traveling, the act of not being in your home, changes your viewpoint or how you interact with the folks that you have encountered in this film.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny how we've been making films now for 15 years, Sean even longer, but we just it feels cosmic, meeting soul family everywhere you go, and there is something about leaving your comfort zone, as I'm sure many people on this know that there's
Expand your comfort zone.
yeah.
That's really what it's become for us. Like, we're very shy, introverted people, and we always say documentaries are spiritual practice because it connects us to this country and the other people here. So I think a long time ago we realized we got to operate with extremely open hearts if we're going to keep getting blessed by the angels with really interesting subject matter that we literally just come across. Yeah, basically, it doesn't happen in our hometown. It can't, because we can't wear that. We can't go around with that lens on. It would be extremely distracting to think about everybody as a potential subject. So for us, it's like once we get out of, I don't know, the 30-mile radius of our home, it's when our cinematic vision kicks in and we start thinking about things in a much more connected way. And that was really fun about this. Like, the first thing we did on this movie was we just started driving west from New York, and the first stop we made was at a truck stop because we thought the sunset was nice. So we pulled out the camera to film the sunset, and we ended up filming the people that started the movie. We ended up talking to this black dude who's a truck driver who's been doing it for 30 years. We asked him, what do you think about magic? And he started talking about Houdini and Chris Angel, and we're like, oh, this went over his head. And then he dropped into flow, and he talked about how we have a third eye and that there's an unseen world, and we need to open our third eye in order to acknowledge and be part of the unseen world, and that there's an exchange going on there, and every time the wind blows, spirit's with you. And just dropped into this beautiful magic flow that ends up starting the movie. And we left that truck stop saying, this is how we're going to make the movie. And instead of going, and look, we went to temples and churches and all of the sacred places and talked to all the sacred people, and every one of them hit the edit room floor, because it didn't feel like wild magic. It felt like priest class, hiding behind gatekeepers type of energy. The real stuff came from the truck drivers, the homeless people, the vagabonds, the people that you really are trained not to pay attention to in our society is who we were interested in shooting with. And it made us feel extremely connected to humanity and this country, and replaced what is a really dark story that's forming around this country with something hopeful that we think in this film could carry on and help some people.
I think we might have froze.
That's awesome. Thank you. I can tell you just in the clips that Cass shared with me, and we'll see at least one more, there is so much pure joy in some of these clips. That one that the sound didn't work, and I'm sorry for everybody, but just the dancing, that vibe of people in that sort of public drumming, dancing space, so much joy. And I think that's something that we all need to see these days. So I'm going to switch back to Taylor and ask, sort of along the same lines, you visiting the reservation and working with the, the Indian relay riders and this indigenous community, you're also away from home. And I want to know how it felt as an observer, whether you felt like an outsider, whether it was welcoming, and how intimately did you feel the stories that they were trying to tell? I managed to hook myself around the microphone.
Oh, it's cool to hear from other filmmakers. I think it takes a lot of, I don't know, not, maybe bravery is too strong of a word, but definitely takes a lot of intention to go to an unfamiliar place and people and strangers and have a camera and try to capture something honest with them. And I think that filming on the Blackfeet Reservation, I don't know if anyone's spent time there or been to Browning, but I think for me it felt like it was a place that was a little bit forgotten. I think in modern day America there's a lot of causes and things that our attention is drawn to, and I just thought that, wow, these people have been here for so long, why isn't anyone trying to help them out? And not necessarily that they need it from us, but in some ways. But yeah, for me it was just I wanted to be an observer and I don't know. I didn't want to. I want to have a light footprint wherever I was, and so I was kind of just observing at first. But with any good relationship, it takes time. You start to get to know everyone. You start to joke and share about your life, and at some point, they really just considered me to be a part of their family, and I think that just allowed me to freely move about and document their lives, and it's really a privilege. I think I really enjoyed it.
Okay. So another thing that I noticed in these films is they're really sensory based. So there's a lot of in Wild Magic. There's a lot of focus on sound, and in True Medicine, we were talking in the car on the way down here, and it really feels in some places like you could reach out and touch the horses. You can just feel their velvet ears under your fingers as you're watching the film. So I'll go back to Taylor first, and then we'll talk a little bit about music. But Taylor, how did you approach that? I mean, was that intentional that you wanted people to feel that close and intimate in a very sensory way with the story?
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful imagery to capture with horses. Obviously, the beautiful landscape in Montana, as many of you know. I think that was just a natural, beautiful setting to be in. And then in terms of the story, I think the main character, Chaz, just has this immense love for horses. And he's committed his life to being a great horseman. And I think it was just, technically speaking, you could talk about close-ups and slow motion or things that help you really look at and study something closely. But I think probably subconsciously, I think I just was capturing what was being kind of conveyed by the character.
Okay, so can you guys tell me a little bit about music and how it's woven into all of these spiritual and magical stories that you encountered on the road?
Well, music is the sacrament. Music is our sacrament. It's the best drug. You can't overdose on it, and it makes you feel crazy, and it's awesome. So when we first set out to make this, I kept telling my editor, I was like, we're making a musical because so many people are singing and dancing and playing drums and performing that like this should really feel like a musical. And I think we put it together like that because, like you're saying, we want it to be a sensory experience. I think that's what cinema is and should be, and especially documentary. And I feel like what I've bared witness to in the past 10 years or so is a a lot of that stuff getting stripped out of at least the mainstream documentaries that I see, and they become a vehicle for information or a vehicle for beating you over the head with something. And I think what we try to do is show the audience the utmost respect to draw their own conclusions and give them time with these people. I think it's the most generous thing we could do for our subjects and for the audience, is give you time with them and put it in a cinematic container, but strip away all of the stuff that might distract.
Yeah, I think we intended for this film, instead of being like about magic, to be magic, and I think the film itself is a spell, and a big part of that spell is the different musical notes, is the enhancement that you get from the moments of music or the pauses or the moments of reflection or someone breaking into song, and a channeled song that they had, and so it was we tried to create a sensory experience for sure, and that's the idea, is that it can be the spell of awakening, which is what the people are talking about.
And you guys we're letting you in on something. I think most people won't have the pleasure of knowing a spell has just been cast on them when they watch the film, but that's very intentionally how we put it together. And it's a hero's journey, but it's a hero's journey for the viewer. You know, we're not watching any particular character in this film evolve. We're with them for 3 to 5 minutes each. So it's really it's showing the viewer how to listen, how to spot these kind of things, and how to speak this way, and tap into a mystical Americana that just makes this place a lot more interesting to be. You know, as people as I've been traveling this country doing this for 20 years, there is a media-driven narrative of darkness that a lot of people, I think, really like repeating as social currency. And I think it's until you get out there that you realize that that's not the case at all, that there's a lot going on, and that there's actually a lot of people that are thriving in other ways because they've unsubscribed to the capitalist agenda. And everyone that we spoke to in this film is either off the grid or has been homeless or is completely detached from all the pitfalls that I think that are capturing a lot of our lives and making people depressed and feel that darkness. So what we try to do is, like Cass said, make a film that changes your prescription. You know, if you can't change the landscape, change the lens. Start to see the world a little bit differently. Start to see it for these disparate pockets of light that actually are connected. And, you know, this film is just like a small glimpse into the way that we've had to start to see the world to not get crushed by anxiety and depression.
That's awesome. So, all right, everybody forgive me. It's Molly's turn to editorialize a little bit. I'm struck by a couple of things here. Cass and Sean had this amazing experience of traveling across the country that was full of people who were willing participants in this journey. And I'm struck by the difference between that and the experience of Lewis and Clark as they traveled across the country that was full of people, but a lot more empty space, a lot more silence in some ways, right? Or the sounds of nature rather than other voices telling their stories. I'm also struck by the fact that Indian relays or horse races probably took place right where we're sitting when the Sélish lived here and would gather here with the Nez Perce. So I think it's really, I don't know, it's interesting to me that there is so much connection between these really contemporary stories in these two films and the history that we talk about every day here at Travelers Rest. Since we don't have the clips to share, I'm going to also ask an out of field question here, because I noticed in both of your resumes that both of these filmmakers have worked for Nike. And I'm assuming this is to pay the bills so that you can go and do these passion projects. But I wanted to ask, I'm going to start with Taylor, to talk a little bit about the commercial work that you do, how that gives you freedom to do other things? And what is your hope for your career as you move forward?
It's a good question. I think that even the most famous directors, they have to oftentimes work on commercials to make a living. I think the starving artist is kind of a coined statement for a reason. I think all of us try to find ways to monetize our creative skill sets. And I know for me that the real joy of just working in making a living is to have time and freedom and resources to go make creative works and tell stories that I am passionate about. And I think, shooting something for Nike is like feels prestigious or exciting. But, during COVID, I would shoot commercial real estate videos and empty buildings. And it's not a very, I don't know, exciting thing, but it really pays the bills and it frees me up to tell stories I like. And I think that I've gotten to a place where I'm pretty content to, provide my skill set and services to people that want to pay me for it. And if that allows me the freedom to continue to make films, that's just what I hope to continue doing the rest of my life.
Great. Okay. Sean, Cass, thoughts on commercialism and paying the bills?
We got to pay the bills, but we designed our life to where we barely have any to sustain this, because it's impossible to do. We don't come from money. We don't really have any other way of paying the bills. So when a commercial comes up, we'll do it, but we hate them. We don't care about them. It's all really besides the point. But what they've allowed us to do is have director's cut on all of our films. This is like my 20th film, and it's the first time I've had investors. It's the first time I've had anyone even dare try to say something about the way something turned out. So I think what me getting attention from the commercial world has allowed is my audience to get a more streamlined version of my voice that I'm still developing. And it's allowed me to build an audience on my own. And yeah, that's kind of really what we focus on, is community building and keeping our audience engaged. And there's lots of ways to make a living now. It's like when I first started doing this, commercials were essential. And now it's like, I don't know, we have a podcast, we have a Patreon, we have like lots of other streams coming in. And it feels like we're building the more sustainable thing now, because commercials are hard to rely on. You never get a repeat client. It's torturous. The rates are going down. And basically what they're hiring you to do is to cast a spell on their audience that they're authentic, because they're just a company, they want their company to feel like it has humanity, and they don't. So we charge them way too much money for me to come in there and cast a spell on their audience. And yeah, as I develop more and get older, I just want to do that stuff less and less. So what we're focused on is raising the money to make our next project, which is about the gambling epidemic that's spreading in this country. And our next film is called Chasing the Lost. So we're trying to raise $250,000 so we can make that film and have it be independently produced and not crushed out by the gambling industry.
That's awesome. So I have to admit that I watched a couple of podcasts, Very Ape, on YouTube. I got a little bit of cred from my 19-year-old for watching an actual YouTube podcaster, and I think I'm going to get more cred for talking to you today. How you're talking about community building, but it's also audience building, right? So I'm assuming that a lot of the folks that are involved in your podcast are also audience for your documentaries, and I'm going to ask Taylor the same question. Documentary is not like commercial film or narrative stories that we're used to in terms of where you find your audience. We're super lucky in Missoula to have the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival. Are there other ways that you're building audience? Or is the audience for documentary film changing as you go through things? And I'm going to let Sean Cass answer that first.
Yeah, I mean, it's always changing. It should always be expanding. I think that's what we try to do is like, we make a film like American Juggalo was like a thing we made that a lot of people saw and a lot of people passed around, and it made people think of juggalos differently. I thought that was like a really cool thing. And, I feel like we've done that for other communities. We've done it for sex workers. We've done it for drug addicts in West Virginia. And along the way, I think we're making fans and building audience that have stuck with us through all the projects. Because it was like, it's cool. I saw what you did for the Juggalos. I wanted to see what else you were up to. We made a film called Trump Rally about a Donald Trump rally in January 2016, before he even had the nomination the first time. And we just showed up at a Trump rally with our cell phones and made something really, I think, really compelling and prescient and revealing. And it's not political or anything like that. It's just showing who these people are and what they're there to do. So I think that what's compelled our audience to stick with me for this long is kind of what compels me to like follow certain stand-up comedians. It's like I want to see what they're saying now or what they're interested in now. And I think that transcends any one project if you're developing your voice in a strong way. And that takes a lot of you have to have wherewithal. You have to have wherewithal to tell people that you don't give a shit about what they think, and this is the way you see things, and this is the way it's going to be done. And yeah, not fall into tropes and not stagnate. So I think, like I said, when we took documentary on as our spiritual practice, I knew I'd be doing it for the rest of my life. If it was about a career, if it was about money, we'd be having a whole different conversation. And yeah, I probably would have figured out how to make my way out there. But we're poor artists, so we're figuring it out.
It's honest. I love it. So Taylor, same sort of question for you in terms of building audience and connecting with people over the course of your career. You've also done a lot of different kinds of projects. How do you try to build an audience?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I really try to build an audience. I think that I enjoy making work and sharing it with people, and I don't know if the size of an audience is always a direct result of, yeah, how would I say that? I mean, I think numbers of views aren't necessarily what matters most. I think if you're making something that impacts people or in whatever way you're trying to, I think it's really valuable. But yeah, I'm really grateful to be living in a time where we can broadcast our own work. I think things like YouTube and podcasts, it's really even the playing field for creative people, and it's you no longer have to go through the traditional systems of a studio or television channel. I think that even a lot of the big companies like a Netflix or even traditional places like PBS, they're seeing that broadcast is kind of only part of the audience of America, and most young people now and kids, they're all on YouTube watching whatever it is they're interested in, and there's a lot of interesting people and creatives that are making content that's educational or could be about fixing cars or could be about shooting guns, and it's like there's all kinds of stuff you can go and learn from or have interest in. And so I'm grateful that that technology exists, and I think it's an exciting time to make your work and share it with people you want to connect with.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Taylor too. I know that veryape.tv, is that the best place for folks to encounter more of your work?
Yes, and that's actually another to dovetail off Taylor's point. Our work being free and readily available where people watch things is how we've gained our audience, and that being available. It started on Vimeo, but they really let the ball drop, and now our work's all of it's on YouTube for free. And I think that's for the past 12 years, I've foregone even applying to film festivals. It felt like a moot point. It felt like a way to slow us down. So we just make the projects and put them out. This one, like I said, has investors, so we're doing the proper thing here. But I can't wait to get this on our website, like everything else is, veryape.tv. That's where all of our stuff is. And there's a lot more on patreon.com/churchofchill. That's how you join our community and get a lot more stuff.
So I'm going to ask Becca to drop in the chat a link to veryape.tv. And Taylor, where can folks find you online?
I have a, yeah, TaylorHawkins.tv is just kind of a site that has my portfolio. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. I'm going to ask also, Becca, if there were any questions in the chat today. Yeah? Or she's nodding her head. She's just going to take a look real quick. Okay. Anybody in the audience have a question? Yes, Colleen. Colleen, oh, sorry. Colleen is asking whether Taylor had any contact with the Assiniboine Sioux at Fort Peck.
I haven't. Just really spent time with, you know, Chaz Racines and the Carlsons on the Blackfeet Reservation for my story. I have visited other reservations for other work, but I have not been to that one before.
Another place to look for stories. I also, Beck, I wanted to see if you could quickly drop in the chat as well a link to the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival website. We are going to show the clips that we have here. Folks, there are opportunities to see all of these films in their entirety online. You can purchase online tickets through the Documentary Film Festival. These are premieres for To Medicine and for Wild Magic, so they're not out in the world otherwise yet, but we'll also share links when they are available from our website. I'm really sorry that the tech didn't work out for us very well today, but folks who are in the room, if you want to stay, we'll show the clips here. Sean and Cass, I don't want to pain you with it, so we thank you so much for joining us via Zoom, and sorry that
Thank you so much for having us.
the travel gods
Thank you,
were
Taylor.
not
We look
kind.
forward to meeting you in person one day.
Yes, absolutely. Come through Missoula for sure. And Lolo, I mean, it's a great place to visit right down here.